Hi everybody, this is Agnes from No Sediment, and today get ready to roll up your sleeves and rage at the screen because I will be sharing my 5 unpopular wine opinions. This is the wine world, an industry full of opinions, semi-truths, often exaggerated by strong and loud voices. Think of winemaking, aging wine, drinking wine, vine growing. I could go on and on and on. Even viticulturists and winemakers can't seem to agree on many things. So how can we, wine lovers? Today I wanted to share just 5, though I have way more unpopular and in some cases even controversial wine opinions. I will be excluding some of the topics I have already covered in the separate videos. Topics that in my opinion were so shrouded in mystery, I felt they deserved videos of their own. So be sure to check my video on wine glasses and video on wine aeration and decanting, all linked in the description below. I am aware that this video might cause some of you to burst in anger, but I started No Sediment as a way to study and learn. And if you present me with a solid argument, I am more than happy to change my opinion. But it must be based on science or at least sound logic. So with that said, proceed with caution and please stay respectful. I do not believe it is a client's right to bring their own bottle to the restaurant. I have worked in a restaurant scene for almost 10 years, and even now my everyday work is closely connected to this industry. And we can argue about wine list quality, pricing, margins, but at the end of the day, restaurants are private businesses and they are allowed to do as they please. Just because a restaurant has a very high markup on their wines or does not have the specific bottle you are looking for does not mean you have the right to bring your own wine. Now, don't get me wrong, I am not against it. I have even done it myself. But I always call ahead to ask if it is okay and usually confirm the corkage fee. If possible, I even try to bring the bottle before my reservation so that it is served at the right temperature. And if the restaurant denies my request, I respect that. No hard feelings. But if you just show up with your own bottle without letting the staff know and present it as a fact once have already arrived, unless it is clearly a part of restaurant's policy, in my opinion, it is very rude. I also completely understand the corkage fee because not only someone will open that bottle for you and pour the wine for you, but they will also be serving the wine in a nice glassware that is clean and shiny, and they will be tidying up the table after you are done. So I guess I am yet to understand the frustration some people express when they are denied to bring their own bottle to the restaurant. This might sound like a very philosophical opinion, but hear me out. One day, a distant friend visited me at work and told me he had been gifted with back vintage of Chateau Petrus. While he appreciated the gesture, he had Googled the price and said that in no way it seems appropriate to open and drink that bottle, and he would love to sell it. We talked about the fact that it was a loose bottle with no known storage history, and that unless we found another private buyer willing to take a risk, it might be very difficult to sell it. We also talked that he had never tasted Petrus before. So my advice was simple: open that bottle and enjoy it. First of all, it was a gift, so it was not his money trapped in that bottle. Second, he probably would not get full market value anyway because of the lack of provenance. And lastly, the wine was made to be enjoyed, not to travel from warehouse to warehouse, from collection to collection, from hand to hand. And I see this all the time. We keep that one Dom Perignon in our fridge, waiting for the right moment to present itself. But sometimes no moment seems big enough for that bottle to be opened. And more often than not, we miss that perfect drinking window. The wine is gone, especially if storage conditions have not been ideal. Wine is meant to be enjoyed. Do not fear its price. Now, let me explain this a bit more so people do not get frustrated. I genuinely believe that overall quality of wine today is very high. Just look at the majority of labels on supermarket shelves. They all are clean, bright, beautifully aromatic, and offer great appeal. Some even come with great names on the labels that bring positive association. But when you taste these wines blind, try to describe them, maybe even score them, you realize that's it. Maybe there's something to say about the first wine, but overall, they are all the same. No highs, no lows, just the same old wine. Technically well made, yes, but do they have that oomph or wow factor? No. And this does not only apply to supermarket wines. I have tasted gorgeously made wines. They have the fruit concentration, beautiful aftertaste, oak where oak needs to be, acidity and tannin to frame it all up. And yet, it seems that wine lacks the soul. And because they are so well made, with nothing to really fault, these wines will and should receive high scores. But would I be excited to drink them? Not really. So here is my unpopular opinion. Good wine is relatively easy to make. Great wine? Now that's much harder. And while greatness can sometimes come from a story or a legend of the wine, that is not always the case. Sometimes wine has that X factor, a soul if you will, something that adds extra dimension to the quality. Sulphites are not the enemy in your wine. If anything, I would blame alcohol, ethanol, for the next day's headache way before I would point the finger at sulfites. So first things first, there really is no such thing as wine without the sulfites, because sulfites is a natural byproduct of an alcoholic fermentation. Of course, winemakers also add sulfites in various forms to protect their grapes, juice, and finished wine from unwanted microbial activity and effects of oxidation. There are many ways to reduce the use of sulfites, and most quality-oriented winemakers will use as little as possible. But the best producers also want to make sure that their wine arrives at your dinner table the way they have intended. Not brown, not fizzy, not cloudy, and definitely not smelling like cider. The amount of sulfites added will depend on wine and wine style. So even within a single producer's portfolio, levels can vary from bottle to bottle. Personally, I do not mind sulfites in my wine. I would rather have a wine with some sulfites and zero bacterial activity than the other way around. Because uncontrolled bacteria can cause far more harm, both to the wine and to us. I'm trying to not get too deep into this topic today, but if you are interested, please let me know in the comments. I might make a full video and even maybe a tasting on this. For me, it is very fascinating and oftentimes misunderstood topic. In one of my recent videos, I said something I thought was completely innocent, but I received a lot of comments from you, so I wanted to address it. I said it is difficult to judge the wine without knowing its price. Many of you were shocked and argued that quality should be assessed independently of price. But because I believe it is much more challenging to make an exceptionally good wine at an entry-level price point, and those wines are rare, I will be happy to score it higher. It is a way to highlight the wine that stands above the crowd. However, I do not expect a €15 wine that scores 95 points to offer the same complexity as a €100 wine with the same score. They are in different leagues. It is like in wrestling, you fight within your weight class.
The greatest professional athlete in the world today. Look at this. He's
Saying all of this, I do not think that expensive wines should be penalized just for being expensive. Last year, I judged a competition where the professional sitting next to me kept lowering the scores of great but expensive wines. His one and only argument was that I can find similar quality for less. While I understand what he is saying, we often do not know the full context, how much or how little of that wine is produced, or what makes it unique. Some winemaking regions or appellations simply start at a very high price point. So to say that €200 bottle should not be scored 98 points it clearly deserves only because you can buy similar quality for €150 does not hold ground for me. So do I think that Salon is an extremely expensive champagne? Yes. Do I also think it is beautiful and absolutely magnificent in quality? Also yes. There you go. These are my 5 unpopular or controversial wine opinions. Please let me know in the comment section below what are your unpopular or maybe slightly controversial wine opinions you would want to share. Another unpopular opinion I already shared was the fact that wine needs to breathe, so make sure to watch this video next where I did real-time experiment with wine breathing.